Howdy, my name's Andy, and welcome to Hardspace Shipbreaker. If you haven't seen Shipbreaker before, this is a really good game. It's still currently in early access, so not feature complete, not fully fleshed out. There are going to be bugs and so on. If by this point you don't know what early access means and how that relates to a game, it's too late for you. So, Shipbreaker though, why is it cool? I have really started to like this game. Really gotten into it. I like the lore of the game. I like the story. I like how they've kind of woven it all together. And one of the best things I like about it is the load screen. Oh my god, so many games will put the load screens, and they love to put little feature text and fluff text and those kinds of things in the load screen, and that actually absolutely makes sense. It's something you want to see while you're waiting for the game to load. However, how many times do they put a nice big long piece of text and you get about halfway through and the game finishes loading and you can't read the rest of it? And more often than not, it's something like they put something very important in there, like, this is the most important thing to know about this game. You should never ever, and then it loads and you never get to see the rest. And then you've got to wait for another load screen and hope that you recognize the text so that you can skip to the end. They don't do that. The load screen is finished loading, but it's still waiting for you to go ahead and press E and move on. In the meantime, you can read your little fluff text and flavor text, and if you like, you can cycle to the next one and just keep going through and read all of it to your heart's content before you move on to actually play the game. Thank you. Oh my God, thank you. So, what is Shipbreaker? Basically, you are playing a shipbreaker. You're actually doing a job and working for a company. You were hired, you were selected, as it were. You put in your application, which is a whole pretty funny thing in of itself. You fly up out of the planet and come up to space in order to break ships. But there's a catch. You don't or didn't have the money to be able to fly out of space and pay for that ticket. So the company paid the ticket for you to the tune of about $1 billion. Now, that basically put you into debt. You'll notice in the screen you've got the debt. I've been playing a bit, so obviously the debt's gone down. But you started off at $1 billion in debt, and you are basically working off that debt now. Effectively, they're running a company store where you are paying into the debt. You owe money to the company. You can't leave until it's done. And by doing that, you break up ships, salvage the money, or salvage the ship. They give you basically credit for the work that you've done based on what you salvage and what they can get from it, and then apply that towards the debt. But there's a little bit of a catch to go with it. So let's get a shift started and we'll kind of see. One of the other things I really like is the music of the game. I think it's really nice. They do a good job with it. So let's pick something that's going to be medium, I think. Now, one small complaint that I have, is just I wish there was a legend on the screen for the ships where you could understand. As you play the game, you start to figure it out somewhat, but even then, it's not entirely clear. You've got the various metals that make up the ships, but it's not entirely clear which ones are which. Electrical, mechanical, I assume, cargo maybe, furniture, cold, water, documents. But it'd be nice if it gave a little bit of information about what those are. Same with the hazard ratings. I mean, you can kind of figure it out, but it'd be nice just to have a legend, maybe just a little screen that pulls up a legend like a map legend and shows what it is and how it relates to everything else. I think that would be kind of handy. It'd be kind of nice if you could actually do that. So, but we'll go in, take a look at the ship, and see just what this game is going on. And here we go again. I love it. You got the load screen, it's finished, and we can just start cycling through the tips, read some of the flavor text, learn more about the company that is very... it's a very dystopian future. This company basically apparently runs everything. So, there's that. So here we go. We've got our ship, and we have our items. In this case, we have a sci-fi kind of grapple gun, basically, that allows you to move around, and you can also use it to pick up items and move with them as needed. You've also got your cutting gun, which shoots out a laser and cuts things. If you've ever played Dead Space, this will be really familiar because basically you can cut and cut right through things. Now, oops, something bad's, yeah. If you cut through things and don't pay attention to what you're cutting through, you can actually have explosive decompression because the items and the ships are under pressure from the air pressure inside. Fortunately, we have managed to cut through that without blowing up the ship in its entirety. But you also have things like fuel canisters, which when they pop, it can be very, very, very bad. In fact, why not? Boom. Yeah. And we have explosive decompression to go with it, so this will be good. Now, you know, it's not good if it's actually in there. If you're in there with them, that could be a problem. But we've got our generator here, which is good, so we'll go ahead and grapple that because why not, right? It'll be great. It'll be fine. What's the worst that could happen here? This is fine. This is fine. This is fine. Let's just get everything out of the way. Your gun does like a little pulse, which allows it to move stuff. So that works out. And there we go. We got the power in. I really like how the music changes when you're doing this kind of thing because it actually makes you understand and feel like this is dangerous. The music picks up, your guy starts breathing heavier, boom. And I just love it. I think it's great. I love the way the music is incorporated in the game, and in fact, it even comes in more importantly because it starts to go with some of the flavor text of just what's going on and how the music is actually being used against you. It's actually kind of cool. I have no idea what that was. I didn't do that. Okay then. So everything has mass, everything has movement. You can actually cut things out and basically then use the grapple gun to move them out of the way legitimately and then throw them off into processing. Now there's two kinds of processors. You've got, well, there's one kind of processor. You've got the processor and then you have the furnace. Metals, unrefined things will go in the processor. Sorry, the furnace. Manufactured goods, things that are complex would go in the processor. You can throw them in the other one in the other, but you'll lose credit for certain items, or it may just decide to scrap it. What's nice is if you look in the middle part of the screen, it'll actually tell you where things go. Like it says, okay, that's part of a nanocarbon. It goes in the processor. You've got a thruster. That's going to go down to the barge. Now the barge is where you salvage pre-manufactured, very complex items like chairs and consoles and generators and engines and fuel tanks and things like that, as opposed to just, yeah, nanocarbons. Those go in the processor. Scrap goes over in the furnace because I cut through one of the main thrusters. And then as you throw things in, it will give you credit and you earn money based on the weight and the type of item that is being scrapped or sent in. Scrap, obviously, or maybe not obviously, but scrap definitely gives like the least. It's almost not even worth actually salvaging the scrap. The amount of money you get is so negligible. The time you take to throw it in there is actually, you're better off grabbing something else in most cases. You also are working against a clock. If you look in the upper right of the screen, we've got 10 minutes and 30 seconds left. So you're fighting that clock. The trick is you're trying to salvage as much as you can in that time period. So what we're going to do, we will cut through. There's usually little latches that are holding things in, such as this thruster plate. So we'll cut those out and pop it goes. And then that shows processor. So we will boop, fire it right over into the processor. Now the cool thing about the grapple gun is it's actually got another ability, I guess you could call. So we'll cut those off. There we go. And we'll just link it down just like we did with the generator, and boom, we get full credit for that nice giant engine nacelle that we don't have to cut up into component parts or do anything with. Bam. And then that should, we can then break the links here, and that'll allow us to salvage this giant thing. Throw that over there. That should go. Or not. What did I miss? Oh. There we go. Now we go. Let's actually not explode this one. You know, the other ones were intentional for example purposes. Not so much here. Alright, now we can salvage that. There we go. Boom. The more tethers you put, the faster it goes. You can also unlock, you know, the ability to make your tethers stronger and so on and so forth. Alright, let's do this. Ooh. Yeah, maybe not. There we go. Oh, I might have tagged the coolant truck, or the coolant thing. Oh well. It's all good. Alright, there's so much debris. Oh, whoops. That was not what I meant to tag. Alright, let's try that again. There. Damn it. Shit. There's so much crap. I'm not paying attention. There we go. Ah, much better. Okay, let's get those out of the way. That one, oh, no, not that one. That's got a nacelle on it, doesn't it? Didn't even notice. Okay, let's do this. Wait, I thought it had an engine nacelle. Oh, it's over here. Alright. There we go. And there we go. Boom. Making all kinds of money. You may notice that there's also an oxygen component to the game. So oxygen is going down as we play. I don't know if we have any oxygen. We do. We have oxygen in here. So we'll go ahead and grab that. Boop. Grab some repair kits while we're here. That probably exploded. I don't even know if we're going to be able to get to the cockpit yet, but we'll see. Yeah, that's all just a giant mess. There we go. Get that in there. Oh, that never made it in. Damn it. There we go. There we go. And get that going. Get those in there. Get the salvage the power cell, because that's a nice good chunk of change. You know, it's all about maximizing your salvage. You also, the little thumbs up that he just gave there, what that's all about is you have work orders and you have things that your tasks that you're trying to do. So we're salvaging electrical, salvaging mechanical, nanocarbons. Oh, we just got credit for the nanocarbons, as well as salvaging metals. And basically you're fighting or going against the clock trying to grab as much of those things as you can. So there we go. Let's get that in there. Boom. Now, you can also salvage, there's like little panels like here. We've got the panels. So that's actually going to count for mechanical. You'll notice that the number goes up, boom, 4 out of 6. So we can just grab those real quick. We can get 5 out of 6. And then we can come back over here. And we got another panel on the outside, and we can get 6 out of 6. Lovely. So we're still trying to salvage metal. Got a long way to go for the metal. Probably not going to get it in time, but hey, what the heck. So let's cut the... Everything is held on by these connectors. And you have to be careful because your laser does actually have kind of a line of sight. So if that connector is between you and this coolant tank, the laser will set it off along with, you know, the engine tank or your thruster tanks or thruster fuel, oxygen. I mean, you know, you are in a dangerous environment. Things can and will explode, as has been seen before. You will take damage, of course, when that happens, and that brings up another mechanic, which gets very interesting, is basically when you first signed up for this game, or first signed up for this job, you acknowledge that the company has the right to clone you. So basically, when you die, they will clone you and make you into, you know, another version of yourself. But it's not cheap for this to happen, and they'll actually charge you for the clone. So literally you will go or can go into further ruin, go into your debt. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Okay. Well, I guess we're just going to have to cut through the door then. That's what we're going to do. There we go. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with any of this. It's fine. Oh, except for what was going on there. Throw that in the processor. Okay, we need electrical. We have 1 of 5 to go. So let's get some chairs out of the way. We have 4 minutes. We can do this still. Solid dollar work orders. That goes in the furnace now because it broke. Great. So it means we can't break anything else or we fail that. Not that it really matters, the failure. I mean, if you don't make a work order, you just don't make a work order. But you get a bonus, you get experience for doing it, which allows you to increase your abilities and so on and so forth. So, you know, trying to finish work orders is good. Also, getting the maximum amount of money in the shortest amount of time is also good. So, in a way, it's actually, you know, you don't want to be just salvaging every single thing. You actually have to play and learn what gives you money, what doesn't. Is it worth your time to even bother salvaging this item, or is it better just to chuck the whole thing into the furnace and call it done? So there we go. We've got the work orders complete. We've got 3 minutes left. Oh, you know what? We can probably get that nacelle. We'll just... Oh, right. I forgot. That's got the air lock on it. So we will go here. And boom. Cut that one off. So that should allow that to go there. Should pull off. And we've got this little crawl space here. So we should be able to sneak through. Yes, we can. And we'll cut that off there. Cut that off there. Now the neat thing is you actually do have physics going on here. So as you pull, if something's loose, you can actually use your own thrusters to break. Oh, helps if I actually break the lock. There we go. And then it'll actually pull away slowly but surely. Or not. Okay, apparently I have failed in my example. In some fashion, it is not going away. Let's see if this one will go. It's not wanting to come loose. What have I missed? Alright, let's try this one. Why is the... Uh-oh. Nope! Remember that part about the laser that I said earlier? Yeah, I completely forgot. And screwed that up. There we go. That one broke loose. Let's get that one out of there. And that should allow us to then get the others as well. Oh, it still had the engine on it. No wonder. Okay. Now, you may have noticed that when I took that damage that the radio started screwing up and playing another kind of music. There's actually a lore reason for that in the game. They actually explain it to an extent. And some of the little things that you can pick up and gain and get more information. It's actually quite cool. I like the world building that they've done in the game. It's not overt, it's not crazy, it's just they tell little bits of story and you get more information based on the stories that you collect. I really like the way they've done it, because if you just want to play the game and not mess with all that, you don't have to. It's completely voluntary. They're not trying to shove it down your throat if you don't want to read about it. If you just want to rip up ships and move on, you can. But if you want to get the story or get kind of what else is going on and get a bigger picture and context, you have that option as well. And I think that's really cool. So we're out of tethers, so we can't salvage any more stuff. We have 1 minute left. I think it's a good time, and we're about to run out of oxygen. So this is perfect. There we go. Let's missed. There we go. If you ever do want to get more air or oxygen or thruster fuel, you can always come over here. But hey, it's great because, of course, it costs money. So you go into debt just to get air so that you can survive. So it's really nice. So I mentioned the company store before, and this is where it really comes in. Now, for those of you who don't know, a company store basically was a concept. It was something that was really kind of well known in the mining industry, where you would have a coal mine or something else that's really remote, and you would have a town that gets built up around this mine because back then, you just didn't have cars. People couldn't move around like they could today. So you needed to have stores nearby. But it was very remote, and most companies wouldn't want to have a store go out there because it's very hard to get all the materials. But at the same time, the mining companies and whatever company was doing that knew that it had to get stuff out there because the people were there and they needed food and shelter and clothing and so on. So they came up with the idea of the company store. The company would basically run a store in the town for the local residents who were effectively the employees of the company. Now, one of the things that they would do is they wouldn't actually pay the employees in cash. They would give them like script, and the company store would accept that script, and that script could even be used, and they would extend credit based on your paychecks, so you could in fact buy things that maybe you don't have the money for yet. It just, you haven't been paid, but you need this because your kid is sick, so you need to buy medicine, or you need to buy food, or you need to buy clothing because the shoes died, but you get paid next week. So hey, what, I'm just going to extend the debt a little bit. But the problem that you would find is that once you started getting behind, and as anybody who has been in debt before knows, once you start digging that hole, it can be so hard to get out of it. And that's exactly what would happen. You would have these individuals and they would become indebted to the company store. They would owe everything, and they're basically would be working for free because all of their paycheck would be going to the company store to pay off the debt. But in the meantime, you still have real world expenses and your debt is constantly growing. And because the company store was the only place in town to get these things, there was no competition. There was no incentive for them to be competitively priced. There wasn't any sort of market pressure for them to offer a product at a given exchange rate. They could just do whatever they wanted, and it was seen by a lot as probably not if not one of the symbols of corporate evil, as it were. In fact, there's a pretty good quote regarding that from an economic, I guess you call it an economic historian, people who look at economies of the past, by the name of Mr. Price Fishback. And he wrote that the company store is one of the most reviled and misunderstood of economic institutions. In song, folktale, and union rhetoric, the company store has often cast as a villain, a collector of souls to perpetual debt, sometimes carrying nicknames like Pluck Me, or more obscene versions that cannot appear in a family newspaper, seem to point to exploitation. The attitudes carry over into the scholarly literature, which emphasizes that the company store was a monopoly. And that's pretty dead on. Now, from the corporate side, of course, they would argue, hey, if we weren't here, these people would be starving, and we were doing this to save them. Yes, we wanted to make a little bit of a profit, but it costs a lot of money to get these items out there, and it's not our fault if these people were, it's kind of how the credit cards run. It's not our fault if this person spends the money inappropriately. If they don't budget appropriately and act accordingly, it's not our fault they put themselves into debt. So how does that all come into in the game? Basically, you can see through what we did. We earned 2.2 million credits. And hey, that's great. You started off at $1 billion, you're earning 2 million per, you'll be out of debt in no time. Not quite. This is the nice little hook that they get you with. Basically, you get a nice little breakdown. Every morning you have to pay certain things, and that includes interest on your debt. You have to lease the room that you live in, the transportation fees for getting things up to the bay, getting the ship and bringing it in and everything. You've got the cutter, all of your equipment you have to rent from the company. So your cutter, your grapple, your helmet, your spacesuit. Now, I'm fortunate, quote unquote fortunate, I've been able to buy my very own helmet based on the experience that you gain throughout the game, and unlock my very own helmet that belongs to me, so I don't have to pay the rental fees, and the same with the suit. But of course, the more important the things are, the more expensive they are to rent. The cutter is very expensive because it is, in fact, what you need to be able to play the game, play and do your job, and that's of course the most expensive. Then of course you've got the hab rental and your hab utilities. So of the 2.2 million, 363,000 of that went towards your debt. So you didn't really make as much as you thought, and it's only worse at the beginning of the game because of course that interest is higher and you've got more rental fees. And then you'll notice the one at the very top, resurrection fee. So if you die, you get charged, and it ain't cheap. It's like 200 grand. basically you can put yourself back into debt and lose money if you blow up the ship because you lose all the salvage, and then you die. So you literally cannot afford to die in the game in a very literal sense. And I love that. It's such a great little add-on. It kind of makes it more interesting, and it just kind of shows how horrible this company that you're working, quote unquote working for, is. And it all comes together, and you can earn certifications as you unlock your different ranks by doing different things. You then gain the ability to have and work on better ships, and it looks like later on in the game you'll actually be able to unlock another grade of ships. What is it? Yeah, tier 7, which apparently isn't in the game yet, so I'm assuming that'll come on. And every tier of ships is more and more difficult. Everything's more complicated. You have to go through more. There's more to salvage. You make more money. So it's kind of a scaling, and it takes longer. And so you can actually you work on a ship over more ships. Like you'll see that the ship that we were working on is still there. You can actually continue to salvage if you like, or you can go on to the next ship. And that's something that you have to figure out is it worth it to actually go out? Because basically going out is going to cost you anywhere between 300 to half a million, if not more. Is it worth to go out and do it? Because if you can't salvage as much money as it costs for your daily operation, then salvaging that ship is pointless. So it's all about trying to get the maximum salvage within that 15-minute window, and trying to do that multiple times and getting that efficiency without blowing yourself up, and solving the tasks and getting that. So I thoroughly have enjoyed playing this game, and I'm going to keep playing it. I really want to try and get myself out of debt. Oh, that's the other thing, of course. Your items take durability loss. Of course they do. So you have to repair them. Well, how do you get repair kits? Well, you have to buy them from the company to repair them. And again, it's all about this whole, you're constantly spending money to try and get out of debt, which is not how you get out of debt. You get out of debt by saving money, not by spending it. But it's geared towards making you spend the money. So it's such a great little loop or feedback loop of how they basically are showing, this is legitimately a monopoly that this company has on this shipbreaking, and they're squeezing you and everybody else. And then you've got the lore of the game, the data, and these little data boxes that you pick up through the ships. Usually they'll be still in there, they'll be floating around, and there may be some money in there, and one of them there may be a credits that somebody left behind, or more often than not it's emails or correspondence or audio logs that were left in the ship for any reason. And it just kind of fleshes out the universe or the world that you're living in and working in. And I really like it. I think it's a lot of fun. They do some really neat stuff. Some of them are kind of interesting. The only downside, and this is probably because it's early access, all the audio logs feel like it was being read by like a speak and spell, kind of a text-to-speech program, not by an actual voice actor. So I think that would be really interesting to get some of these audio logs and actually have them voice acted, get a little bit more inflection and humanity into that. I think that would be kind of neat, because it would lend it, because some of these are kind of talking about not sad topics but emotional topics, and having it read in kind of an emotionless computerized voice kind of takes away from that. So I think that would be kind of interesting to see. But other than that, solid game. I have to say it's pretty impressive, well worth taking a look at. So, and that's pretty much all I got. So hope you enjoyed watching. I'm going to continue to try and get some more videos of Shipbreaker up, showing the progression as well as how to taking down the various classes of ships, along with other games. This is all starting brand new, so we'll see how it goes. But hope you all have a good day.